Hi, I'm Lalita from Let's Speak English, and in this video, I'm going to discuss with you 14 different ways to agree and disagree in a business meeting. So the words agree, I agree, or disagree are absolutely fine, but it's good to know some alternatives in their place. Now, in this lesson, I'll teach you some other ways or words to agree and disagree. So let's get started. Different ways to say I agree is, let's say a colleague of yours called Barbara says, I think we should hire an external agency for this project. And you agree with her. So you can say absolutely in response. Absolutely is a wonderful way of agreeing with a colleague of yours. Absolutely. Please say that with me. Absolutely. Or you could say that makes sense. Makes is the word that's stressed here. That makes sense. Again says that you agree with Barbara. Or you could say, I'd go along with that. So, which means you agree with Barbara's idea of hiring an external agency. I'd go along with that. So, go along is the other words that are stressed here. Moving on, let's look at some ways to convey that you strongly agree. It's not just agreement, but you strongly agree with a colleague of yours from the IT department, Tim. So Tim says, our IT systems need to be upgraded soon, and you are strongly agreeing with this opinion of his. So how do you respond? So you can say, I couldn't agree more. I couldn't agree more. So couldn't is the word that is stressed here. I couldn't agree more. Or you could say, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. Here, the word absolutely is the one that is stressed. Or you could say, that's exactly what I wanted to say. That's exactly what I wanted to say. So exactly is the word that is stressed here. So when you stress these words, you show that you strongly agree with an opinion that your colleague has put forth. Moving on, let's take a look at some of the expressions where you partially agree. But before that, do not forget to like and subscribe to my channel, Let's Speak English. Now let's come to the partial agreement. So what do we understand by partial agreement? Is when you actually agree to a part of the opinion, not the whole one, not totally or fully. So when Linda, a colleague of yours, says, we need to reduce the costs and lay off about 50 staff by the end of this year. So you agree to the part of reducing the cost, but you don't think it's really necessary to lay off 50 people. So you can say, I agree with you to a point, but I don't really think we need to lay off that many. So you agree to what Linda says, you partially agree to what she says. So I agree with you to a point, but not to something else. Or you could say, I see where you're coming from, but I don't think we need to lay off that many people. I see where you're coming from. That part of the sentence says that you kind of agree, that you partially agree with Linda's opinion of the costs. But the other part where she says that you have to lay off about 50 people, you don't agree with that. So these are different ways you can express partial agreement. Great. Now let's look at some ways in which you can say that you disagree. So let's say Roberto, one of your colleague who says, we need to increase the project budget. So you disagree with that. So you can say, I'm afraid I can't go along with that. I'm afraid I can't go along with that. So you use the term I'm afraid to make it a little softer and to be a little more polite, to sound a little more polite. So I'm afraid I can't go along with that is one way of saying I disagree. You could also say, I'm not so sure about that. I'm not so sure about that. Or, I'm not sure I would agree with that. I'm not sure I'd agree with that. So these are different ways to say that you disagree. And these are very polite ways of saying that you disagree with a colleague. Moving on, we take a look at some of the expressions that you can use to say that you strongly disagree with something. So Elena, let's say, is a business partner and you have some business problems recently. So Elena says, I'm afraid we have to cancel this partnership. So you disagree with her very strongly. So you can respond saying, you can't be serious. You can't be serious. So you see my tone when I'm saying serious? It's kind of rising slightly at the end of the word serious. When I say the word serious, this is known as intonation. So serious is the way I stress on this word to emphasize that I strongly disagree with Alina. Serious. You could also say, I'm sorry, but that's totally unacceptable. Totally is the word stressed here. So when I say totally, I raise my voice at the end of the word totally. I totally. Okay. Another way of saying is, I'm sorry, but there's no way I can agree with that. There's no way I can agree with that. No way is the place where I have stressed. So these are different ways of saying that you totally disagree with a certain opinion or a certain colleague. So those are some of the expressions that you can use to agree or disagree. So with that, I come to the end of this video and I hope you found this lesson helpful. And if there are other areas of business English that you need help with, do let me know in the comments. I'll do my best to cover them in the upcoming lessons. Well, if you like this lesson, do not forget to hit the like button if you already haven't done that and join my email